This is the Big Woods Bucks podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine Master Guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights into the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood, sitting here with my co-hosts, Joe Cruzy.
Hello.
And Leon Libby.
Howdy.
And
I like the new Leon intro.
Yeah,
it really flows
Leon,
good.
Yeah. Today we got a special guest from the Adirondack Mountains, Joe Dinitto. Welcome, Joe.
Well, hello, everybody. I don't know how special I am, but I appreciate being asked to come on
Yeah.
a podcast with you boys.
Yep. Joe's big buck tracker over in the Adirondacks. Well, actually, I call them the little bucks over there. They track the little bucks. Big antlers,
Yep.
little bucks.
Well, I think of them as big bucks, but I guess I don't have that main weight to go by.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you still
Ours
don't.
are-
You still don't, right?
No, our bucks, yeah, I don't. But our bucks just don't carry the weight that you guys do.
No,
I
it's
mean, I've
different.
obviously hunted with you, Hal, and those are some big boys up there in your neck of the woods.
Yep, just a different subspecies, that's all. But
Yep.
anyway, so you know you're going to get a roasting today, right?
Well, I got to go. Come to find out, I got to head to work.
Oh, I didn't know about
the roasting part, so it's time to get off the phone.
I didn't either. I'm anxious to hear this.
Yeah. What do you?
Well, I figured as much. Me and Al have been hunting together quite a lot lately, and I knew what was coming.
Yeah. So what are you doing for work, Joe?
Well, I'm a dairy farmer down here in southern part of the Adirondacks, just as you get to the farmland.
You pull.
we're
You mean?
milking-
Wait a minute. You mean you pull tits?
Well, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
We got a dairy farm down here, and I don't get a lot of time to hunt as a general rule, but when the snow comes, I don't miss it.
Well, I
right.
sure couldn't tell by your following you on Facebook. It looks like you get some good time in, or at least make the most of the time that you get in.
Correct. Well, you know what it is that if the snow comes now, there's been years where I'd only hunt 3 to 5 days for the whole season. And then there's years like last year when we got too much snow and I end up hunting 2 or 3 weeks. So when the snow's there, I take the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take
and
advantage of it when you can.
as you get older, you push your other family member partners a little harder to get your time, right?
Yeah. And as you get older, well, it only stands to reason. You figure you only got so many years left to do this, and you get a snow day, you hate to pass it up for a work day.
Oh, that's
So
right.
and of course the family's grown now, so it makes it a little easier to get away.
Yep. You got a good crew there. When you got a good crew at the farm, it makes things go pretty easy, huh?
Yeah, well, when you get to we're milking 600 now, so it's more of a management. Yeah,
That's a
more
lot of
a
cows.
management position.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little more of a management position than it is a day-to-day have to get it done position. And my brother and my father are both still in it, so I let my brother do the bow hunting down home and some muzzleloader hunting and what have you, although he still does hunt the big woods some, and he lets me go when the snow flies.
Yeah.
I don't think a team of horses could stop me, but he lets me go, so
Yeah.
works out good.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So you've been tracking the Adirondacks all your life, huh?
Yeah, I shot my first buck up there when I was 22 tracking. That wasn't the first buck I killed up there, but the first one I killed when I was tracking. I was 22, and that's some 30 years ago now. And I was pretty much hooked from then on. And I would say out of the last 30 years, 95% of them, but you bump into one once in a while and get in, but as a general rule, everyone since has been on the track.
Wow.
Yeah. And I teamed up with Jim Massett here about 25 years ago and started doing some seminars, and it's been a lot of fun. We do it just for fun. I mean, you get paid a little bit, but it's time you figure it all out, you're there more for the camaraderie of the other hunters than you are for any other reason, monetarily wise. So it's just been a lot of fun.
So have you always been kind of exclusively Adirondacks?
Yeah, I mean, I've hunted the Ontario and did a little up to Maine, not a ton, but I've been up there a few years now. And some in Montana. a little bit in Ohio, but the Adirondacks has always been home. I've missed a few bucks and I've let quite a few go in Maine, but I've yet to tag a Maine buck. I'm looking forward to doing that maybe this year.
You were up here last season for a few days, weren't you?
Yeah, and I let one go. Just scared him really good.
Yeah,
that's a matter of opinion on letting him go. I was shooting at him, but he seemed to dodge the bullets. They're pretty smart up there when it comes to that. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun up there. I'm an Adirondack guy, and I'll only go to Maine when the Adirondacks doesn't have snow and you guys do, or if I'm tagged out. But what a great opportunity to have both places to watch the weather and maybe, take off and go to Maine for 2 or 3 days, and when we don't have snow and still get to go tracking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about your take on comparing the two, hunting down there and hunting up here.
Well, I think there are a lot of similarities. I think that where I hunt in the Adirondacks, at least, and I know there's some steeper ridges in some of the other places, but your mountains are a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, Obviously, your bucks are bigger. The prints are bigger. The stagger's bigger. As far as how far they travel, it seems like they travel farther where you guys are, but that could just be because a lot of times you're climbing, more than on the flatter ridges. But I don't have enough experience to do a real good comparison. I think they're both, both extremely tough bucks to get, but extremely fun to go get them.
Easier access up here, or about the same?
Yeah, easier access to get back in the woods because we don't have the roads. We don't do the cutting that you guys do. And you guys got a lot more land up there that's not impenetrable, but you got some really thick old cuts that makes it kind of tough, where we got a lot more open timber.
Right.
Because, our state woods is not logged, but our road system is very limited, which can be good and bad. I mean, as you guys know, you track a buck up in Maine, you got a chance somebody else drove down the road a couple of miles from you and picked up the track ahead of you. You don't get that in the Adirondacks. Nobody's ahead of you. It's been doing it a long, long time, and I never see where I get cut off. And I've been cut off several times in Maine. So advantages and disadvantages to the road system,
I remember you telling me, Joe, the other thing you noticed is, because I've hunted out there Adirondacks for 5 or 6 years now, and I remember we talked about they're a little bit different about when they feed and go lay down, because I always told people, when they put the feed bag on, that's when they probably going to lay down, but a lot of times they eat on the run here, and it seems to be a little different out there. Usually when they're feeding there, they're going to be pretty close, huh?
Yeah, I've come to the conclusion there's really 3 seasons within the season. There's the pre-rut, then the actual rut, then the post-rut. Pre-rut being November 5th, 6th, and earlier. Now, those guys, like you just said, Hal, when they put on the feed basket, they're going to lay down. And I think in both places, you get November 6th, 7th, 8th to like the 20th of November, down here at least. Boy, they can really travel, and they really avoid that feed basket. They might stop off for a quick bite. And then after the 21st, 22nd to the close of our seasons, which is the first Sunday in December, that last couple of weeks, boy, when they feed, you're right, Hal, they're pretty predictable. I use a little comparison to a guy coming home from work. If that buck's on the highway, you got to keep going just like that guy driving home, and he's on the 4-lane. He's just making time. But the second he goes right or left, just like that guy, when he gets off the 4-lane, he's getting off the off-ramp. He goes right or left when straight ahead was the easiest path. Well, when you see that when you're tracking a buck and he all of a sudden takes a right or left, it doesn't really make sense. It's just he could have went straight ahead and he just veered off. Well, he's getting into his development. And next thing you know, he's in his driveway. Next thing you know, it's just like that guy. He goes into his house. He goes right to the kitchen, gets something to eat, and then he lays down on the couch. Well, that buck will do the same thing. He'll meander back and forth in the development. Then he'll start feeding, and then he lays down. Well, that's your key. You're right in the kitchen. You're right with him. And that's what I've done for years. And 95% of my bucks are carbon copies of each other and how they were killed. Same principle, just a little different ending, same idea.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like the comparison. It gives them an idea what to look for. Now, we all know I want to say this right up front in the start of this. Nothing's 100% with the whitetails, as we know. I mean, I've seen plenty of times where the buck will stop and get something to eat and then keep going. That might just be the Pizza Hut. He stopped on the way home, and he's not going to lay down on the couch there. Or
Circle K.
Oh, who goes to Pizza Hut anymore?
Or the local tavern for a sandwich and kept right on going. But you get the idea there. When he really feeds, he's home in his kitchen and he's going to bed down.
Yeah.
The big difference I hear a lot of guys who haven't tried the big woods bucks is those farmland bucks. They have a place where they eat and a place where they lay down. Well, as you guys know, and Hal, those big woods bucks, well, they eat where they're, where they feed where they're hungry and they lay down where they're tired. There's no set spot to that. I mean, sometimes they go up high to do it, but it's not the same place every day. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think most people don't realize if you've never hunted in the big woods, people don't understand that there really is food about anywhere. Anywhere there's a deer traveling, there's food along the highway. You don't have to go home to eat.
Right. The only reason he gets off that off ramp is just because he's going to wander. There's restaurants all over the woods. He's just going to wander over to one. He's got an idea. He's going to swing off and have a little bite to eat and lay down. But you're right. I agree with you 100%. I mean, they might feed a little heavier on a beech nut ridge where there's beech nuts that year or whatever the case might be, but it's all over. It's not like an alfalfa field and then a thick swamp and they come back and forth every day. 100%,
So is he stopping by the strip club when the doe's in heat? Is that the analogy?
Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, if you want to go there, you're right. I tell guys all the time, if you get on a buck track on November 12th and he's on the highway, you better hope he comes to a strip club. But if he doesn't, you're never going to catch him. And you just got to be lucky enough to catch him while he's still there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I never would pass up a snow day, even if it is in that during rut time when they're really moving. Obviously, any snow day is a good day. But I tell guys, don't get discouraged if you start a track at 8 o'clock in the morning and when you leave it at 4 in the afternoon, the track's older than when you started it. That just means he traveled faster than you did in that distance. And it can happen when they're looking for that strip club.
So are you close enough to the snow belt there that you can be there in a short time, or is it a travel for you?
Yeah, I can be in some of my favorite areas in an hour to an hour and a half.
Yep.
No trouble.
Yep.
But I do want to say, and I think a lot of people get the misconception on this, is that when I say the favorite area, I don't even like to hunt the same area twice a lot of times. I like to see new ground, and that's one of the beauties of being a tracker. You don't have to know the area. You don't have to know where the deer normally go. You don't have to have your stand all set up or your cameras and all like that. You just need a little snow on the ground and a little ambition to go and go find one. It's a lot less scouting than I think if I was sitting in a stand.
I met a guy, 20 years ago or so down in Florida. He was we had a big steel building he was bringing it back up north, but he was from the Adirondacks, and I was talking to him about tracking in Maine, and I, in my mind, thinking this was the only place, in the Northeast to track, and I got a lesson then that they've been tracking the Adirondacks for a long time, and this was back before the internet. He had to fax me pictures of the bucks he killed, but he killed some beauties down there, and it kind of opened things up for me in my thinking that it was only happening up here, that there was a few other guys around that were doing it too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think even Vermont, New Hampshire, the Adirondacks, they've all got places to definitely go out there and track. I want to say one thing too, to back up just a little bit, but I want to make it extra clear that I don't think that tracking is the only way to hunt. I don't have anything against the tree stand hunters, the still hunters doing a little deer drive, and all those things. They're all successful and they're all great ways to hunt. I just think that throw a little tracking in the mix happens to be what I like to do, is puts a little variety in there you might not have normally done,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah. I mean, I if I had to only pick one way of doing it, it'd definitely be the tracking way, but that doesn't mean I'd denounce any of the other ways that these other guys are doing it.
Oh, that's not what I heard, Joe. I thought Yeah.
Well, all right, we are still live, right? I got to go. I'm sticking to that story right now.
No, I enjoy. I actually come down there. I come down. I guess it's considered southern New York, but I go down every year bow hunting to a buddy's place down there, and I love it any way I can get it. You know, it's all good. It just so happens that I think tracking is the most challenging and
Right.
the most fun as well. And most people, I would say most people think so, but really not. There is a lot of people, and I've brought them before, and that they just don't care to walk that much. You know, it's too much work for them, or you know, there's some hunters that you know, their favorite way to do it is just sitting and waiting, and that's fine too. But there's a lot of guys like us that just want to get out and do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, I give up a lot of time that I could normally be in a stand just so I can go when the snow flies. As hell, I'll tell you, this year was a fantastic year for getting snow, a pretty poor year for how much we got because we got too much. Yeah. But, and I'll tell you, I had one of the best seasons I ever had, and I got to jump on this before Hal does because otherwise he's going to throw me right under the bus here pretty soon.
Not me.
But I had I know it's coming. But I had a great season. And this is going to sound strange, but because I kept missing the bucks, you know, and they weren't easy shots. And to my credit, I think a lot of guys wouldn't even got the gun to the shoulder and shot unless they were used to it. And I took some tough shots, but I ended up missing 5 different bucks this year. And one of them was in Maine. 4 of them were in New York. But the reason why the season I felt was so successful is because I got to see 5 different bucks that I shot at. And I'd seen a couple others that I didn't get the shot at. Now, to me, thinking that 6, 7, maybe even 8 mature bucks in 1 year, man, that's a lot of fun tracking, and I had a great time. Now, would I have liked to kill that last one? You better believe it. You know, I wanted him in the truck in a bad way, but it didn't work. But a lot of fun this year, you know.
Yeah. Tell us about your main buck, Joe. I want to hear about that one.
Yeah, the one up there, I was there in the first part of the season, and I had to. I had gone quite a ways on 2 different days, and on this, I believe it was the second or maybe even the third day, I had gone up to an area that Hal had turned me on to, and I was tracking a buck, and I'd been on him probably for 4 or 5 hours, and I got around to an area that was pretty open, and the buck had started to feed, and it was early in the season, you know, the first couple of days there in November, and just as I thought I was sneaking up on him, I heard something crash out to my right, and I swung to my right, and I looked, and a different buck was going out. I seen the horns right away, and I knew he was good enough to take for sure. And I says, if he crosses that logging road, and it was a good 125, 130, maybe 150 yards down the logging road, wide open. I said, when he crosses that logging road, if he crosses that logging road, I'm going to get him. Of course, he hit that logging road going at a good clip, and I actually thought I had a pretty good shot on him, but it didn't work out. But it was a lot of fun, and after I went over and checked it all out and realized I'd missed him, I went back to tracking the buck that I was on, and I never did get a shot at him. But a lot of fun that day.
Joe, I got to tell you, these 2 guys are looking at me cross-eyed about the logging road. They think you're hunting out around the roads there.
No,
I was not looking at you like that. I was thinking about all the people listening. They're going to be upset that the deer wasn't stopped at 40 yards broadside before you took your shot, because we always get that. We've talked about it before. If you're going to be a tracker, there's going to be a lot of times when you don't get the perfect standing still shot, and it's a matter of opinion, whether it's right or wrong to shoot it at a running deer. But if you're a tracker, that you shoot at running deer.
Yeah. No. What I meant really was when you're talking about a logging road, you're talking about a skidder trail, really.
Yeah. I'm not talking about something where any car or truck or anything like that could drive down this road I probably hadn't been on with an old skidder. Yeah. I don't want to give anybody the misconception there. That was definitely
Twitch trail,
more or less a trail in the woods.
Yeah.
Definitely nothing you could.
I was picturing a dirt logging road in my mind. Though.
I knew you were. I was looking at it. Like, geez, that's pretty easy.
No.
Tracks it out to the logging road.
Yeah.
Anybody who's been in those big woods knows that that's just an old skidder road. They logged it 20 years ago probably, and or however long, because it was already grown up in bigger timber, and just happened to be where it didn't fill in.
How many deer stories end up with, I was waiting for him to cross the skid trail?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
A lot of them have been
Yeah.
shot in the skid trails.
A lot of times the only place you can get an opening.
Right. Well, it's funny because he went out in such thick stuff that he made enough noise to make me spin, because he was 90 degrees to my right and almost a little bit behind me. And for whatever reason, he might have picked up my wind or whatever, and he was in there. When he come out through, or when he took off, I heard him breaking branches over there, and that's what made me look that way. But I couldn't shoot at him going down through there. The only opening I had was that old skid road, and it was partially grew up with some briars and stuff.
Looking to pick up that Maine lingo that quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him go across that skid trail.
Yeah.
So
gotta get him across there.
So the logging situation down there is a lot different. I take it.
Yeah, what it is down here is, if it's not state land, it doesn't get logged anymore. I'm sorry, state land does not get logged anymore. It has to be private land, paper company or something like that, which we don't have very much of at all compared to you guys. I mean, there's millions of acres that'll forever wild down here that'll never get logged again.
Huh.
And what the paper companies do own of it down here, they're pretty much, when they get done logging it, they're selling it to the state. And the state's scooping it up, and they're putting it in their forever wild package. Some of it's going into conservatory type programs where they get to log it for 10 years, but then the state takes it over for good, and it'll never get logged again. Something major changes.
I wish they would cut some wood, because they're cutting the shit out of our wood. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
You
I think a happy medium would.
Yeah, you
would
guys
be better.
can make your own toilet paper.
Yeah, I'd like to see a happy medium myself, Joe. I think there's a better, it's so different. Where I hunt down there, it's the same story. It's just all old growth, big wood, and there's no understory at all for feed or anything. It's just a whole different ball game down there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. That I noticed from hunting out there is the things the deer feed on, and the way they feed is quite a bit different. So
I have to write them down.
What are you writing down?
Yeah, I just my dad walked in for a second. I just had to deal with that for a quick second.
No problem.
Well, what I was saying was out there I noticed in the Adirondacks, because it's a lot of the older woods, the deer tend to feed a lot more on the ground on those ferns. They're pawing. Out here, all that pawing in the ferns once there's snow on the ground, it's pretty rare. I mean, once in a while you find little places they do, but there's so much other good browse and stuff here and things that they don't have to. And I also observed that where we have tons of mushrooms on our trees, I saw very little of that out there, and the ones that they were small. I don't know if they eat them as soon as they start to sprout or whatever, but that's a observation I had there, was they feed more in the ferns. And I think you mentioned about a beech nut ear, they'll be on the beech ridges. And in here, the beech ridges really don't attract any more deer to them on the nut ears. They'll be there, but it doesn't draw them from a long distance because there's so much feed, other kinds of feed. There's plenty of it everywhere,
Must be a lot of oak down there too.
No, we don't. There are different places in the Adirondacks that do, but I've never hunted where the oak are.
Okay.
But I think Hal's right. I think they paw a lot more here. I mean, which gives us an opportunity to see horn marks probably more frequent down here, because their heads are down into the ground, and with the snow on the ground, they leave you some horn marks. But they don't have. Yeah, you guys get the second growth from the log, and they kind of change their diet to those buds, and they don't have to dig as much. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, when I used to hear about all these horn marks, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, as I've seen 5 times there was horn marks out here, because it just they're not sticking their nose in the ground that much,
Right, and they do that here all the time.
Right.
I mean, I would say 9 out of every 10 bucks I trail leaves me horn marks, and that's not to say if you don't see horn marks, give up on that buck. He could just be got a little higher rack, or for whatever reason he doesn't tilt his head enough, or
Right.
whatever, but most of them do leave you horn marks if they go to feeding, and it makes for an exciting part of the day too when you start to see that.
Oh,
Just
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's strange. You know you're on a buck. You're sure you're on a buck, 100%. But then when you see those horn marks, it's like the confirmation you needed, and plus it makes it just you start imagining that rack. Makes the day that much more fun.
Yeah, that's what you do when you're tracking. You're always imagining what you might have for a rack.
Oh, for sure. I do want to say too. I mean, if any of the guys out there that will listen to this want to try that tracking thing. When I first started doing it, one of the hardest things I used to say all the time was to find the track. Well, as a young guy in my 20s, I was going about it kind of wrong. I would go out and say, well, I'm going to, I'll track one today. And I'd hunt the area I'd always hunted. I wouldn't venture out very far, and I'd be still hunting, looking for deer and looking for a track. Well, as a tracker, you don't have to be quiet. You don't have to be sneaky in the woods, because you don't have to sneak up on a track. So the part that I was doing wrong in a nutshell was I was hunting deer and I wasn't hunting the track. If you're gonna be a tracker, that first part of the day, you can't worry about scaring deer. You just got to be on the move. You got to cover a lot of ground, because you got to find that track early enough in the day where you still have enough time to catch up and get it. And I think a lot of startup trackers might make that mistake. I know I did.
Yeah.
Until I learned the lesson of, hey, listen, we gotta cut some ground here. I don't have to be quiet, and I don't have to be sneaky to sneak up on a track. So let's go find that first. Then we'll figure out what we're doing after that. You know.
Hey, we was talking. Lee had a guy last fall. Lee shot a nice buck here. You probably saw the pictures of it, but it's the guy that filmed him has got it all edited and stuff, and it'll be up on the. When's it coming up, Lee?
Monday.
But in it, there's some footage of Lee crossing this river down there when the buck crossed the river there. And I told him I had a pretty good story about, he was talking about hopping from stone to stone and stuff. And I told him I had a pretty good story about that. Hey, everyone. Hal here. You want to join the hunting club as soon as you can, because that's where you're going to get all my information. I'll have short film hunts, video tips, articles every month, and there's also a forum on there for you people to communicate. Maybe you'll meet a new hunting buddy on there. And the other thing is a question of the month. Submit a question, and I'll pick one every month to answer, and the winner is going to end up getting a decal for their truck. Join up at bigwoodsbucks.com. Hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a 4-season lodge located just south of Jackman. We've got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlinlodge.com.
Yeah, I think you Maine guys have been, I don't know if you were farmers in a pre-lifers, you got kicked in the head too many times.
So I thought that story, if you told it, would be better, because you had a different perspective of it than me.
I did. Me and Hal were hunting. We're going to hunt together, and I tagged out, so I decided I was going to be Hal's wingman, or not wingman. I was going to be his cameraman. And or wingman, however you want to say it. But anyway, I had the camera, and we went on a buck, and we went a couple, I don't know, we must have been on him 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Jumped him once, and we were right on the get-go. Now it was getting toward early afternoon, 1 o'clock, 1:30. And I think in the GPS we were a couple of miles from the truck. And that buck went across the river that I looked at, and I said, well, we'll go find another one. I'm thinking to myself, the second I saw the river. And I look over, and Hal's looking up and down the river like he's on a mission. I said, first right then, I says, I don't know what he's thinking about, but I'm not going across that thing. And, he says, I think we can get across that. And I'm thinking, there's no way. And secretly, guys, I don't even know if I told Hal this, but secretly I was thinking, God, I hope he doesn't find a spot to try to cross this thing. Well, we'd walked up and down the river once or twice, just, 40, 50 yards, and next thing you know, I turned around to look back for a few minutes, and I looked ahead, and Hal was already one step out into the river. he jumped out to a rock, and of course I got the camera. Unfortunately, at that time I was still filming him, and then he takes a big step to the next rock, and that river's just rushing down through there. And he looked back at me, and I got the camera still going. And I said, well, geez, I don't want to make him nervous. Let me shut this camera off.
No.
Well, that was a huge mistake. Yeah. Because the next time I was watching Hal thinking, no, he's going to want me to go across this thing? There's no way. Well, anyway, he went for that third step. He was out there quite a ways, and third or fourth one, and that rock rolled underneath his foot. He went right down, and the only thing sticking up was his head and his gun and his right shoulder. I never see a guy spring out of the water quite so fast. He got up on the rock. He says, well, that's cold.
And you missed it. Oh, my gosh. That would have been good.
I had that camera right in my hand. One of my regrets right there.
That's how it usually works.
Yep.
That
I
water.
get no credit. I get no credit for trying to be a good guy and shut the camera off to not make him nervous.
Yeah.
All I get is, I can't believe you didn't get that on film.
Yeah.
See, that's where we're different, Joe, because I'd have turned the camera on and let him know, hey, we're rolling.
Well, trust me, I know now. But, to put it back on track and to end that story, we got him, he got back to my shore. Thank God he didn't go across. And we started heading out, and sure enough, we come across the buck track that wasn't there in the morning, and started to follow him. And that one boot was getting so cold that we pulled that boot off, gave him one of my dry socks, and tracked that buck till we jumped him. So we had a great day as far as tracking goes. We didn't get a buck that day, but we had a lot of fun.
We left that one, the second one, when it was headed right to the same place in the river, remember?
It was. If I had the notion to go around, I probably could have cut him off before he got to the river. He was headed right in the same direction, ways to go. I don't know if he'd have made it there or went a different way, but that's where he was headed.
So where'd you guys meet? Down doing shows or something?
Yeah, I think, it was probably at some of the outdoor shows. And
I think we first met over there at one of them New York shows, didn't we?
It could be.
Then the Vermont show for sure over in Essex, Vermont there.
Right.
So,
and we're both doing the seminars. I'd seen one of Hal's books at the time, knew about him, and then met him a few times. And he had mentioned about coming up late in the season and maybe hunting together. And, I just thought in the beginning that was probably a pipe dream. But, now I think I've been with Hal 5 out of the last 7 bucks he's killed. I've been there,
He's my
not right with him, but hunting out of the same place.
He's my good luck charm, aren't you, Joe?
Yeah.
I even named my Adirondack buck after you this year.
Did you, ADK Joe?
Yeah. Adirondack Joe.
Yeah. See how that works out?
Yeah. I green lighted that because you shot at that one the day before, remember?
Yeah.
That's when my knee was bumming me, and then you and Steve went out. That was next to the last day of muzzleloader season, I think, over there. Was it muzzle? No, next to the last day of the rifle season. But
right, next to the last of the rifle. Yeah.
And I said, my knee's killing me. I'm just going to poke around today. You guys get going. And you told me, well, you get back and get on that track. And I go, so finally about, I don't know, time I get over there, it was 9, 10 o'clock. And I just poked along. Remember that hard crust that we had?
Yeah. But it was deep snow. I don't want to give everybody the wrong impression. The crust was there, but it was deep.
Deep snow. You either had you couldn't step on it because you'd almost think it would hold you, and then it would bust through every step.
That's the worst.
Oh, it's the worst going.
That is the worst, when it will almost hold you.
So you had to just punch. I just punched my toes through. That's it. That's all you could do. Just punch, and go along. And that's how I walked up 30 yards from that buck, maybe 25, doing that, punching along. He had his head down, rooting around in them ferns there. And I looked him over, and I go, well, the rack ain't real big, but Joe thought it was a pretty good one the day before. And I said, well, it's next to the last day. I was all these things wrapping around my mind there. And I said, well, I guess I might as well shoot him.
Yeah, that's the luck of the draw, or the luck of the year. The day before, it's as quiet as a church mouse. I'm sneaking at a deer, and he goes out 90 miles an hour. Next day, Hal's making noise like a freight train. Walks up 25 yards to the buck, standing there just eating the other way, never seen him.
Yeah, that's how it works, right?
Yeah, it is how it works. Some people used to say every once in a while that, I was a lucky hunter. And my response to that was I put myself in position to get lucky.
Yeah.
You got to get close to them big bucks, and you need a little bit of luck. You don't need you don't want the wind to change direction on you and blow toward the buck, or you don't want them to be facing you when you come up over the ridge. You need just a little bit of luck, but you got to get yourself in that position, and then you can make it happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So are there many 200-pounders down there?
No. I've only shot one in the Adirondacks, weighed 206. Shot a lot of them 180s. That's about where we're at.
Yep.
180. You go over 200, it's probably like you guys up there going over 260, 250, 260. They're rare.
Yep.
They're there, but they're rare. Now you get up into northern New York a little farther. They've got a section up there that has a little more ready with the 200-pounders, but not so much around me. They seem to max out in the 180s, 190s. Even early in the season, that's their full weight. Just different from the equator. The farther away you get from the equator, the bigger the species, and you guys are quite a ways up, Yeah.
Good racks there, though. Seen a lot of good rack bucks.
Yeah. We look more at the racks. Like I shot that one buck 2 years ago, and Hal called him skinny. I don't even know if he looked at the horns, but he had a real nice set of horns on him.
I looked in the back of I just showed up at night, and I was hauling my stuff into camp there, and I go, how'd you guys do today? He goes, I got mine right in the truck. Didn't you see it? And I go, no, it's dark. I didn't see it. So when I went out with my flashlight, I looked in the back of his pickup, and the buck's laying in the bed of the pickup. And I go, geez, that's a pretty nice rack of horns. And I'm looking at the buck, and I'm like, geez, that's a little deer.
Yeah.
And I'm looking it over, and I'm like, geez, wicked nice set of horns. Beautiful 10-pointer, And when I went back in, I go, how much you guys think that weighs? And I think, I don't know if you said
I might have said 160,
yeah,
165.
And then
I was hoping.
Yeah, Steve said, I think 155. And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And they go, what do you guys think it weighs? And I said, I'm going to go with a buck 45.
I think it was a buck 48 too, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, it was 146. We took it down to the store there.
146 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, it was 146, yeah.
Wow.
In my defense, though, it was late in the season. It was near December, and that was probably that's our typical 175, 175 pound deer on day one. Yeah. He loses 20, 25 pounds, maybe just a little more or less, depending. And he gets down in the 150 pound mark. Yeah. And that's what they are. You shoot one in the Adirondacks after the rut, and he still breaks 170. Well, you got a big buck. For us.
Yeah.
That's just the size they are.
But the racks are nice.
Yeah. Yeah, they get some good horns. It's really rare for us to shoot a 180-pound buck that doesn't have a real nice set of horns, where you guys, you could shoot a 230, 240-pound buck, and he's, his
crotch
rack won't, it won't score 100.
I've seen him.
Yeah. Or just a normal 8-pointer, but just a 14-inch short beam, short-tined 8-pointer.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't see that here. If you get a good body deer here, you got a good rack of horns, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
I'd like to get out there, but I never seem to get invited. So.
Yeah. Well, nothing's changed. No.
Yeah. I was working on my response, Joe, and you took it right out of my mouth.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, that was perfect.
Right, there you go.
Don't even follow it up with you just kidding.
Whatever gave you that idea that I'd followed up with that.
Just making sure.
Oh,
You and I will go down there together, Lee. We'll run a hotel room somewhere and pitch a tent.
Yeah.
Just go down and start a guide service.
This podcast is now over. Huh?
Looking for real estate in the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
shit.
it's kind of neat now. I do feel centrally located. We got a good friend, Steve, there that comes up from the city, and then I got Hal coming down from Maine, and just a good time to get together. It's hard to see these guys any other way, being that one of them's, Hal's 8-9 hours one way, and Steve's 4 to 5 the other. Yeah. But come hunting season, we kind of come together and track up some bucks,
Yeah.
Makes for a lot of fun.
Do you do any other hunting besides deer?
Yeah, we do a little turkey hunting on the farm. Mostly my kids do, Trey and Taylor. My son's 20, my daughter's 18. They've both been on Off the Beaten Path as a TV show we got going. One of the local guys down here is putting together, doing a really nice job of it. And they both have been on that show before with their turkey hunts. So that's been fun. We do some turkey hunting.
That's coming along right soon now, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, we open up May 1st.
Okay, it's a while then.
Yeah, but we got a youth season. I believe for that you got to be under 16. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on that one. But we have a youth season in April. But we got about a month, and then it'll be open.
Yeah.
You've been moose hunting over here in Maine a couple times, huh, Joe?
Yeah, I have. My family. I hate to say it because people think it's crazy, but my family's been drawn 4 times.
Wow.
I haven't been personally drawn, but my brother was drawn twice. My father's been drawn, and my son have all been drawn, and we shot moose every time. So had a lot of fun with that.
What zones did you hunt?
We were in I believe it was zone 2 when I hunted with you, Hal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah.
The son got
zone 2.
Zone 2.
Yeah. My brother, the first one, got zone, I think it was 8. It was down off the side of Moosehead Lake. And I think we had the one right across from it, which might have been zone 7 or 9. I can't remember, but
9.
So mostly in the northern.
Yep.
It's been all up north.
Boy, you're not kidding. That does irritate, especially residents that have been putting in for 30, 32 years, 34 years, and then it's just that it's just the way it is. I know guys that are non-residents that have that kind of luck. In fact, one of them is from New York also, and always seems to either himself get it or his wife get it.
Right.
So,
well, just so in my defense, I've been putting in for 20 years now, and I haven't gotten it. So.
Well, it took me 33, so I'm not feeling sorry for anybody.
Yeah.
And Lee Shan.
They kept on throwing your name out though whenever it got pulled, Hal. You know that.
The only one I feel sorry for was Lee Shan's because he still hasn't been drawn yet, and it's been I think 37 or
since the beginning, whatever it is. Yeah.
He's never been drawn.
This is this year. Either him or his wife's going to get it.
Yeah, him and his wife both never got drawn in all them years.
And how many mooses he guided in all those years? Oh, a pile of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is this year.
Yeah.
Going to get drawn at Cabela's.
Yeah.
Every year I say that I'm going to get drawn, and I'm looking forward to it, and every year it seems to miss me by. Maybe this will be the year. I hope so.
Did you put in yet?
Yeah. No, I haven't. But what is it, the 15th? You got to have it in by maybe? Something I don't even know.
Yeah, May 15th, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You got time.
Don't wait till the end.
No, really, because then you wake up one morning, it was yesterday, and I don't want to lose all the points, preference points, or whatever there are. So the additional draws, and I think if you miss 1 year, you go back to square one. So I don't want to do that.
No, now they let you lose 1 year. If you forget 1 year, you can keep your points.
Is that right?
Points,
yeah. No, I hadn't heard that. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going. I got to put in anyway, so
yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't trust you, Hal.
I wouldn't either.
I go back to nothing. I thought that's what it was.
No, so you went with Hal.
Learning. Go ahead.
I was going to say you went with Hal one time. Were you do it yourself for the other times or?
Yeah, every time we were doing ourselves, but me and Hal became friends there when my son got drawn, and he was working with Remington with a new muzzleloader, and said if we'd shoot it with that, he'd come over and show us some of it. And I was glad he did because we were, we don't have moose here, so we're a little bit lost when it comes to hunting them and just go to where we see a lot of sign and kind of hang out. But he showed us some different stuff of walking through the woods, and that made the hunt a lot more fun,
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, he got pulled out. I think he was there, what were we there, 3, maybe 4 days, Hal was. And we had one opportunity, and there was I don't know, did Joey end up shooting that time, Hal, or did he miss or he didn't shoot?
He missed that great big one over there in the hardwoods there on that edge of that cut. He missed that one about 100 yards, and then he let that other small one we walked up on go. I don't know, a little crotch one or something there.
Was that the year that Rob Wing got his and I was up there too hunting?
No.
Okay.
No.
This was a second season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the second season.
Yeah, second season. Funny part to that story was, too, and we had a great time, and Cal had showed us a lot, and we were in an area where Joey had actually missed it earlier. And I was filming, and another friend of mine who was there, and my son, and it was the last day, and we come up onto a, 40-inch bull, and we're definitely going to take him. And so when we got lined up with him, I was standing behind him with a camera, and Joey shot. and the bull just turned and went, and we're like, what happened? I don't think he hit it. So of course then we're all excited but yet let down, and we'll rewind the film really fast, and right in front of the bull, right at his shoulder, you see a tree explode, and we said, well, he hit the tree. So we went after him, swung a guy around, and me and Joey went after him and come up on one spot there. Long story short, my son pointed over and he goes, is that him over there? And it was a dark spot. And we looked over and said, no, that's not him. I looked to the right a little ways and I said, but that is. And pulled my son up, and he pulled a good shot on him that time. So a long week ended real successful. We were pretty happy, pretty excited.
Good.
You know, it was but it was funny when we pulled that camera footage up when we were all three standing there. It only took about 30 seconds. We saw he hit the tree. We knew better go after him and get something done here. And we ended up getting him. So it was really good.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to go back and look at footage like that and see something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of the question mark.
Yeah. Question mark on what had happened. So,
but moose can be easy to miss for some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of them missed.
As hard as it is to believe.
Size of animal, but yeah.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little mind-body separation.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a little of that this year myself with the whitetails, I think. No.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when Hal was keeping me updated on your season, and that was fun.
Jeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had, like I said, I mean, people find it hard to believe that it was the best season I ever had, but me and Hal went to Montana 3 years ago now, counting this last year. First day there, I shot a buck that scored over 150, tracked him about 5 hours, and got him that day. And Hal did tag out, I think it was 3 or 4 days later. But actually, on that first day, my hunt was over. I came home, and I think it was the third day in the Adirondacks. I shot a 10-point and it scored 135. So I had a season of 2 really, really nice bucks. I might have hunted 4 days. I'm not sure which season I like better. Last year I just got to keep hunting and I loved it.
Yep.
But
that was a beautiful buck you shot in Montana. I saw pictures of that one. What a great buck that was.
Yeah, that was a good one. But geez, I love the tracking part of it. The killings. Obviously the success at the end is the icing on the cake, but the tracking and getting close to that buck, that's the thrill.
Right.
And I got to do a lot of it this year. But I will tell you this: when the kids asked me what I wanted for Christmas, I told them all shells. I got to practice. So, I do got to practice some.
So it sounds like you guys had a fall like we did, where you had plenty of tracking snow throughout, because that was kind of the story here. I saw some bare ground with some gravel in it the other day, and I thought, I haven't seen that since the beginning of November.
Right.
Yeah.
They had out there, Joe, I think when I was going out there, you'd got some snow, but every time it seemed like it would be wet and then it would crust, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Most of the snow we hunted on was a crust out there, of some form,
Yeah.
Of some form. Not a horrible crust, but enough to make it where you're a little aggravated at the fact that it was there. And not only that, but it got deep enough where it could really wear you out.
Yeah.
I had one, actually it was the buck that I missed that Hal ended up getting. I was on a different buck, and I spooked the deer, and with it running, I just thought, well, let me follow this one for a ways and see if this is the one I'm supposed to be on. And when he finally slowed down in that deep snow, you couldn't see the print at all, and he finally got under some green growth. And so this isn't the right buck, but I'd gone far enough, and the snow was deep enough, and I'd gone hard enough the day before. I said, I don't even want to go all the way back to get the other deer. I knew he was a little bit bigger, but I was wore out. And this one was headed toward the road, so I stayed with him, and, an hour and a half later, I missed him. But it's just that snow would really, really wear you down.
Yeah.
We all pray for snow, and then we get it answered, but a little bit too much.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the same story here.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I know you guys are fighting a lot of deep snow at the end of the season.
I hunted on snowshoes this year on the last day for the first time.
Wow.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to be quiet on them.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't bad. It was as far as maneuvering through trees and everything, it was better than I thought it was going to be. Across the big cuts, if I didn't have them, it almost impossible across those areas. I mean, it was way steep, but
yeah,
it was obviously would rather not have to deal with that.
Right.
Yeah, that's just too much snow for tracking.
It really is. I mean, you get out there and you think, I'm going to go and I'll get one and it'll be nice and quiet one night. And then you get about 100 yards in the woods and you think, oh, man, this is tough. It's just rough going. You're hoping it settles down. But at least in here in my area where I hunt within the 100 miles of here, it's pretty rare when we get too deep during the hunting season. I would say once out every 10 or 15 years where we really get a deep snow and it's still hunting season. Yep. It's a little more common. We're fighting to get the snow.
Yeah, we don't usually have this. I've been hunting up here for 40 years now, and I can only remember one other fall where it came the end of the second week. It was piling up, and it never went the other way. It was deep snow the rest of the season, and the deer started coming to the yards early and all of that by the third week. And I can't remember any other time it did that.
Well, I can remember one time when I had to be 18, 19 years old here, and I think it was like in the third or fourth week, and me and my father were up at the camp, and we went out on Sunday morning. Now, it started snowing on Friday, didn't quit all day Saturday and Saturday night. Sunday morning, there was a good 15, maybe 17 inches of snow on the ground, and it was tough going. It seemed like it was knee deep. It might even been more. But anyway, we decided that this is too much. Let's just go home and we'll come back next weekend. And back then we were only hunting weekends. And I came back the following Friday night and the snow was patchy at best. And I thought that was my learning curve for never pass up a snow day. I realized then just because it snows, on a Wednesday, don't think you're going to have snow on Saturday. You have to hunt Thursday.
Yeah.
And that was just a big learning curve because I thought of all those days during that week, those 5 days that the snow was melting, it could have had some great hunting. But that was before I was in the tracking as much as I am now and what have you. But, a little tip for over experience, you don't ever want to pass up them snow days. Like I said, you could get it snowing on Wednesday, you want to be hunting on Thursday because there's a good chance on Saturday it'll be gone.
Yep.
And we've all seen it. So you got to get out there when you can,
Yeah.
But
so
I tell go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, I tell them in the seminar, if you could give me 2 weeks of vacation and I got to pick it right now, or you give me 5 days and I can pick them when I want, when they come, I'll take the 5 days every time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I tell guys all the time, if you want to try this, just keep some call-in days open,
Yeah.
So you can,
that's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did have a gentleman, though, and not everybody's in the good circumstances that, like, I am and you guys are where we're close to where we hunt. He says, I got to travel 4.5 hours to get to the Adirondacks to go hunting. He happened to be at the seminar the other day. He said, what do you suggest? I said, to be honest with you, just work with the odds. I'd take the last week of the season off. But I've seen the last day, 55 degrees, and it snowed earlier that year. It's kind of a crapshoot, but at least the odds are with you. Obviously, the later you are, the better the chance you'll have snow. Plus, the deer are slowing down a little bit then.
You have any more seminars coming up here in the near future, Joe?
No, I don't. I think we just wrapped up the season pretty much. I don't do them. Hal's got a kind of a business going there with the Big Woods Bucks, and he's busy on that trail. We only do them when they call and ask, do you guys want to do a seminar, and we can negotiate it up. But we just did the Northeast Outdoor Show down here in Marcy, and that's about it. I might do one for a local rod and gun club or something like that coming, but I think it's pretty much over. We only do 2 or 3 a year, maybe.
Yep.
Now you do them with Joe, Jim, and Steve.
Yep. Jim Massett, Steve Grabowski, and then throw Dave Williams in the mix. The 4 of us wrote a book a while back. It's going to be in North Country Books, which I don't think it's quite up as far as you guys, but I know it'll get up in Vermont, New Hampshire. But we just released it to a wholesaler, and he's gonna take it to a lot of the stores. But you go to ADK Trackers on the website, and you can order one on there. But what the book is, real quick, and I won't plug it too much, but the book is it's a storybook. So if one of you guys, like Hal, went out hunting and you come back into the camp, and I said, how'd you do, Hal? And he, I had a big buck going, and he crossed the river, and I slipped, and I fell in, and got up on the other side, and I missed him twice, and we took it over he went over the mountain. Just the way he'd tell the story is how we wrote the book. And the name of the book is Stories as Told in Deer Camp.
Yeah.
So the four of us just each wrote 4 stories, and most of them were success stories, but a few of them were misses or whatever. Just like you'd, started out in the morning and just tells what happened that day, just like you'd tell the boys back at camp. So it's an entertainment book, and you can pick up a few things from it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, good book. I got it.
Yep.
Read it.
Yep.
So.
And then Hal wrote his book there, his new one, that kind of got the same format and whatnot. And I think they're a good, successful way to do it, and people like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but a lot of fun.
Always is.
Yeah. Just as long as we get the snow, we can go get them.
Have you seen a big change in your area? I usually talk to snowmobilers that are like this year. We had a lot more snow this season, especially early on, than you guys had down there where they ride. And it's, from what I hear, Tug Hill, I guess, is the big place where everyone goes. But aside from that, where it's getting the big lake effect, have you noticed a big difference in the snow over the years? I mean, you've been tracking down there a lot of years. Is it?
No, it's funny you asked that. Every year I think, well, that was a tough winter. That winter might have been rough on them, or geez, we got a lot of snow on the ground, and we still probably got 3 feet on the ground at my camp, even though at my house an hour south of there I can see the grass. I mean, our snow's gone. No, I would say it's pretty much been, the averages have been the same. You get some years are worse than others, but the lake effect is tough on them compared to out west and whatnot, obviously. But I think it's pretty standard every year. I haven't seen a lot of change. The big change for us in history was when they quit logging the state land, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s when they were logging heavy. We had a lot bigger deer population, and we didn't overlog it. They still had their wintering grounds and whatnot back then, but they were commercial logging the state land. We had a lot of deer in the Adirondacks. And once they quit that and the coyotes came in, the winter kill went up, and, we didn't have that browse underneath, and the coyotes are taking their share. The deer population went way down, but that was years ago. Over the last 20, 25 years, I think we're pretty much the same.
Is there a lot of guys coyote hunting down there like up here?
Yeah, if you get in the right region. I mean, around my house, there's too many roads to go at them with the dogs or anything, but a lot of guys around here call them and whatnot. But when you get into our big woods, the problem is there's not enough excess road. So if a guy went in there with the dogs and he wanted to go into the Adirondacks where I hunt, of course, where I hunt, a lot of the deer migrate out, but a lot of the Adirondacks where they are, there's only one road. So, I mean, if the dogs take the coyote, they're just going to have to come back on their own when they're done running them. There's no way to cut them off. It's just vast open ground. Yeah. And by open, I mean no roads, obviously, not open like fields, but it's just vast ground. So makes it a little tough. Our deer population is way low. I mean, but it has been for the last 25, 30 years. I mean, it's low. I think we're less than a buck per square mile. It's tough. One thing you don't got to worry about is getting them confused with other tracks.
Yeah,
He's the only one out there.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to go to the Big Woods Bucks website and join the hunting club. On there, you'll find short films of Hal's hunts, video tips and articles written by Hal, as well as a forum where you can go on there and talk with fellow hunters and learn a few things while you're at it. There's a lot of good stuff on there, and we think it's going to be a great place for hunters to just communicate, and talk about a common interest. Check us out at bigwoodsbucks.com. So you said they migrate. So do they winter in towns there?
Yeah, they come down to the lower lands. Hal knows the drill where I am, but I've got deer that'll go between anywhere from 12 to 16 miles. They come down, and in that 12 mile and up area, you can't find a deer. They're totally gone. I mean, they come out of those hills and definitely go down in the town. I think you guys kind of do the same thing, don't you? There.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They all head for town now. There's no deer yards in the woods.
No. We've had a few times when they were logging in an area and you might get an old buck or two that stay back, but I haven't seen that in a few years even. So they pretty much get right out of there, get down in where the cedars are.
Yeah.
Of course, in New York, it's been quite a while now. You can't feed deer legally. So I'm sure there's some people that still do feed them, but it's not as common as it once was.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure if I'm for it or against it, to be honest with you. sometimes I think that if you don't feed them and the stronger are the only ones that survive, you get a better deer yard strength-wise. And then the other times you think, well, geez, if you don't help them out, how are you supposed to have any deer? So I really don't know.
I would think a select cutting program would help them quite a bit.
Oh, it'd be huge here. There's no reason not to do it. They're so backwards in I don't know who's doing it, the tree huggers or whatever you want to call them, but I don't mind saying it. But we had a windstorm go through here a while ago. It might have been 3 years ago, and they wouldn't even let them go in and pick up the trees that were down.
That's unbelievable.
You need
unbelievable.
You need a forest fire like California, then Trump will tell them to clear cut it.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what we need. Get that forest fire run up. No, I think the part that people miss a lot of times is that the cut is good for everything.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not saying go in there and clear cut it totally. You might have some clear cuts, but select cut.
Yeah.
I think overlogging's a mistake, and I think no logging's a mistake.
Absolutely.
Get somewhere in between, and everybody wins, and good for the economy, and I can't see the downfall.
I do know. I talked to my buddy down there that he's got some property down a little further south than you, and it's in tree growth, and their tree growth in New York is way stricter, I think, than what we have here in Maine. Obviously a huge tax benefit, but they're when they come in, they basically walk through the woods and they mark which trees they want cut on the whole piece. And but it was a beautiful job. I mean, when it was done, it opened it up some where a lot of good stuff could come up underneath, but they didn't take everything. It was nicely done. But I know here it's there's rules and you have to harvest it every 10 years and all that. But I mean, they literally went through and marked just about every tree they want to cut.
Well, that's a big difference between being a forest manager and then just a logger going in there and taking the woods out. A guy who's going to manage your wood lot, he's looking for the 20-year next cycle and having some really nice hardwoods in there. Whereas sometimes, nothing against loggers, but their job is to go in there and get the good trees and get out. And sometimes if you got to get the guy who'll get in there and get rid of the junk trees so the good trees can grow. Just got to manage the woods,
right?
But yeah, as far as our deer go, I think it's tough for us, or I think you guys got to probably agree. When you get someone to come in and log it down here, and then they never come back, well, 20 years after the logging, the ground's choked right out because the canopy is so good. That's worse than the deer than if they didn't log it at all.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, the old growth, at least you got a little nature logging its way when the tree gets old and dies and tips over.
Right.
But the 20-year-old logging and everything in there is 20 years old or younger. And boy, that can be tough.
Yeah, that's
such
why
a canopy above it.
We're fortunate in a way that they log here quite a bit because
I think
there's always new places for the deer, new growth. When it gets too high for them, over the next ridge is another good place, and it all cycles back around.
Right.
And now with the new equipment they have, they can cut wood a lot smaller than they used to. So they, like the Little East branch, I think they said that was only a 15-year-old regen of softwood, and they went in and cut it again.
Yeah.
Those
processors there, they get right in there and get it.
Take it right down to nothing.
Yeah, they can do a nice job, which, like you said, for the deer, that's probably a good thing that they keep at it, at least, get some regrowth coming up on them. But to get back on the whole deer hunting thing, I don't think there's nowhere in the Adirondacks that's a lot different than anywhere else. In other words, you have a lot of guys ask me, where should I go or where could I try it? I tell them anywhere it snows. I've never hit a region where I said, well, there's no big bucks here at all. I got to go somewhere else. Not that I found it everywhere, but if you go in there with the attitude that you're going to find a big buck, you stick a little bit to the higher ground rather than go low so you don't run into those beaver meadows you can't cross or running along a lake that the deer couldn't cross anyway or don't. So the chances of finding a track are less. And you go pretty hard till noon, 1 o'clock. And if you don't find them by then, leaving your truck, you might as well go right or left. There's no sense going deeper because it's just as new a ground making a swing back towards your truck as it is going straight in farther and you're not farther away from your truck. Well, you'll find your big buck track and you just go get them.
If you don't find them today, you'll find them tomorrow.
That's right. But don't get discouraged and don't start still hunting or messing around if you want to go track and you don't get a lot of snow days. You got to go find that track.
Yep.
Then just figure out if he's on the highway or if he's in the development. If he's on the highway, you got to keep going, and if he's in the development headed for the kitchen, you better slow her down. You don't do 65 when you're in the development.
No,
you only do 65 on the highway.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap this up, Joe. It's great having you on.
All right.
And
I appreciate you guys inviting me to come on and shoot the breeze for a little bit.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, we like talking deer hunting. You know that.
Thanks for the invite, Joe.
Wait a minute, did I miss something?
Yeah, he's got his phone out. He's got his phone out.
Go.
We're gonna stow away in Hal's suitcase this coming season.
Yeah, Lee's punching it into his phone right now, putting the date down.
Wait, we can't.
You'll have one of them You'll have one of them trackers in Hal's bag.
I forgot we can't this year. We're gonna be working.
Yeah, that's right.
Hal, the slave driver.
Yeah,
he's got Lee booked.
Right.
He's got Lee booked for 3 weeks.
Yeah, bull crap.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No.
Well, Hal, you let me know when they're booked for sure, and then I'll invite them down that week.
Yeah, we'll do.
That'll work.
It'll
every
work
time.
out.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I had a lot of fun. If ever you got an opening again, I'd love to come on and tell some deer stories. So that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
We'll talk to you, Joe.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Yep.
Bye.
Well, everyone, hope you enjoyed this podcast with Joe Dinitto and talking about the Adirondacks and everything else. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.